Welcome to Brothers Forge Gaming. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Sturmwind.
Es ist soweit. Es muss hier enden. Deine stählernen Schwingen sind nun unsere letzte Hoffnung. Ein gigantischer Sturm zieht auf. Krieg und Zerstörung verschlingen unsere Welt. Und obwohl uns Galaxien trennen, sind wir in Gedanken bei dir. Sturmwind. Diese Nachricht geht an alle Verbliebenen. Wir warten.
Neuer Feindkontakt. Anfliegende Objekte. Regelstärke einschalten. Aufmerksamkeit einschalten.
All right, everybody, thanks for being here at Brothers Forge Gaming. I'm EZ, and today we had an interesting video. We normally don't do this, but I was out going to game stores and we came across a pretty unique game, and that is Sturmwind. So, it looks very just kind of like a CD or something. It's not marked or anything, and I was like, what is that? And it says it's got some great, artwork on the back. It says Shump, and it plays for the Dreamcast. So I was like, well, that's interesting. And, it was not a lot of money, but it wasn't cheap. So I went and I did a little bit of research, and it actually had some cool history. So, before we went back, obviously I went back. I picked it up, but we have to discuss a little bit. So Sturmwind is a game. It came out in 2013 by Duranic and Red Spot Games.
Red Spot Games.
So Red Spot Games was a company back in the 2008 era or something like that. They were just kind of creating games out of Germany. They're an actual company, and they were making some stuff for Xbox, and they were making some stuff for different things, but they always liked and they always tried to make Dreamcast games. They really supported that. I know the Dreamcast had a different lifespan in some of those other regions and stuff, and so it was really cool because they always gained notability from creating games for a system that had not even been around for 5, 6, 7 years at that point, but they were making games for it anyways, and that was cool. So when they made a big announcement in 2010 or something like that they were going to make Sturmwind. It was like a game that was originally, I don't know, I think as early as the Atari Jaguar. There was rumors about this. They've been in development forever, it seems like. And they were going to bring it to life. They were going to make it for the Dreamcast. It's like an actual Dreamcast game made in 2013, which they started in 2010. It did take them a minute. They had some just different issues. I know the CD plant that made their CDs, it was like a bankruptcy. So, it just all sorts of hoops that they had to jump through. But eventually they released this game. And what's cool is if you get this version, which is another reason I kind of wanted it, it has the Red Spot Games on there. So later on, if you've heard of Sturmwind, if that sounds familiar, it's because they re-released it. It's on the Nintendo Switch. It's on Xbox in 2019 or something like that. They re-released it with some, it was like a different company and all that stuff, but they there's even a Sturmwind EX edition and all this stuff. So they've gone and re-released it and stuff. But this original version got a lot of anticipation, a lot of hype. Everybody had heard about it for some reason. It was a little bit before It was right about when we really started back into it and stuff, and I wasn't on, buying indie games really, so I didn't hear about it. But it's funny to come across it now, because if you go back, this came out in 2013. That's 10 years ago. If you look up YouTube or something like that, put in this. I mean, all you see is a bunch of 10-year-old reviews on Sturmwind, and first looks, and trailers and this and that. So it was a very anticipated, hyped up game. And so that's another reason, I was excited to get this original copy. I didn't even really listen to the reviews or anything. And I thought, hey, what better thing than 10 years down the road to do, our own little review on it after we give a little history lesson, of course. So let's get into what Sturmwind is all about. So at first look, you're thinking Dreamcast game, but and I love the Dreamcast system itself, and I think it has a lot of good capabilities. But if you look at the back art on here, the graphics and stuff look just incredible. Just from the picture they show on the back here, it looks like beyond the Dreamcast game. I mean, it looks like a new, like just a new great Shump that you've never seen before. And then when you pop it in and play, it just has some great, great startup. It has some cool, visuals and things like that. It's got your standard menu screen, everything. It's pretty cool. So you have different levels of difficulty, which is always nice in a game. You have 3 different settings. It also has a normal mode and an arcade mode, which is cool because the normal mode is like basically your story playthrough, which is really, it's lengthy, so it gives you something to definitely play for a while. And then the arcade version is kind of a much shorter playthrough of the game, but you don't get as much, it's like a one-shot deal, no continuing, you got to start from like finish to end, which both offer just a really, fun, unique play style, and you can kind of find something that fits your style of play when getting ready to set up Sturmwind. And then first off, when you just get into the game, you instantly notice the graphics are just amazing. It plays very, very smooth. It reminds you of a lot of like classic style, shooters and stuff like that. It has some cool weapons and systems to learn, and different items and pickups and stuff that you can get throughout the game. Plus just like a slew of frantic enemies coming at you, and just that fun, fast-paced style of play. It never stops. You got to be ready, on your toes. It features like some bosses that are definitely unique, interesting, challenging. It wasn't a game where I was able to just jump in and play all the way through it. Like, I had to learn the maps, learn what was coming. So there's like a lot of layers to this game that makes it exceptionally good. And of course, there's also, there's a few, not many, but a few negative things. It has kind of like an intense, repetitive, European techno style soundtrack, which you're gonna love it or hate it. I feel it doesn't have like that classic earworm, that some of the older Shumps that kind of could bring. But it definitely, it's an entertaining. It's a fast pace. It's a very get you going music. But it could be a little much for some people. The other thing is the backgrounds and the environment are so amazing. They're so almost real, and they're ever flowing and changing, that it gets a little difficult. It's like sometimes you can't fully see what's going on, and you're kind of, you got the whole background falling, and I don't even think that it necessarily all affects you, but it definitely visually affects you. And then sometimes it's hard. Some of the enemy's attacks and things like that blend into the background, and you know, you take unnecessary hits. That's kind of one of the things where, you know, it's you take the good with the bad. It makes it also a game that you do have to learn, be a little bit more repetitive with, because you're gonna die just based on randomness, because you know, you couldn't see something, you didn't know that something was gonna hit you, you know, or things like that. But all in all, you know, I gotta have great respect, great review for this game. I mean, I didn't mention, like, it has great controls, or I didn't mention it enough maybe, but it's very well controlled, reactive game. You can kind of play, you feel, you know, you're using your D-pad, and you can use, I think, either the D-pad or the stick, but it's like, I mean, it controls really good. It kind of makes you feel like something out of the 16-bit or the 32-bit era, with just like souped up graphics and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the, you know, super entertaining. Like I said, it's got a good level of difficulty. You can play through it on easy. You can, you know, make it much more challenging for yourself, and it's gonna take you a little bit of time. And it's got that little bit of collectability. Like I said, this version is pretty cool, because of the red spot scheme label. You know, that's not on any of the ones besides the 2013 release. And this is actually like a pretty cool addition to the game, or the Dreamcast library. And you know, it's one of those things. It's not necessarily like a homebrew or anything like that. It's an actual, like, independent, you know, company game that was released for the Dreamcast, even though the Dreamcast wasn't in production. You know, it's like they did this, so that's kind of cool, and I can see why everybody had their YouTube reviews and did all that. And I feel, since this came around in my neck of the woods, maybe it'll come around in your neck of the woods. So if you see Sturmwind out there and you can get it for Dreamcast, I say pick it up. It is a great, fun, challenging play. You know, if you have trouble with bright lights and a lot of techno style music, you might want to pass it. But other than that, you gotta go grab Sturmwind. I hope you like our review, and we'll catch you for a full playthrough very soon. So check out the channel, like, comment, subscribe, and as always, guys, take it easy until next time on Brothers Forge Gaming.
Brothers Forge Gaming.